Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first Wednesday session. Rick Ghinelli, the Director of Music Administration Outreach for Count Selmer, and we're so glad you're here to talk about a really important topic today. Boy, don't you just love that video? Thanks to Beth Horton, our behind-the-scenes technical person who does so much for us in so many different ways. Just makes me so excited to know that Count Selmer Institute will be live again this summer. So we certainly hope you can join us for that. So today we're going to talk about recruitment and retention. Something that's always important to us as music educators. How do we get them and how do we keep them? And, if I think back to when I was in the classroom, which was quite a while ago, one of the only things that my band kids competed with were little league sports, and it wasn't the kind of little league sports that we have today, where you're in these select teams and you're gone constantly, and there's just so many things that are pulling kids in so many different directions, including, as academic kinds of things that they have to do to get, or at least they think they need to be getting more credits. That's a whole different story, as Erin and I could probably do a whole different presentation on that. But things have really changed over the years with recruitment and retention. And one of the things that I always used to say as a fine arts director to my teachers, and one thing that I always try to have in my head as a director is, are we making our activity fun? And I remember getting some eyebrows raised when I would say that, because there were some people maybe that didn't think that fun needed to be necessarily in the equation, but they call it an elective for a reason, right? They can elect to take it, or they can elect to not take it. And so I really believe that there needs to be an aspect of fun in retaining our kids. And whether that's fun, just unrelated musical activities, or fun in how we teach them how to play their instrument. But again, I'm going down a rabbit hole. That's for another time. I know Erin will probably touch on that just a little bit. But over these last 2 years, recruitment and retention has taken on a completely different look, and has become much, much more important in the world of our music teachers. So Erin has been involved in this quite a bit as a director herself. And she's also been very closely tied to it in the last couple of years as our director of educational programs. So I want to welcome to the stage Erin Cole, our director of educational programs. And you'll also be hearing from a guy you've probably seen here once or twice, and that's Mr. Joe Clark. He is the director of performing and visual arts in Spring ISD, and he is a very good friend of mine. And I've kind of roped him in to sort of be my sidekick at some of these things. So we'll see him as well. So Erin, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate the invite to be here with everyone today. Before I jump in, this, by the way, is my favorite topic to talk about. Whenever I do sessions anywhere, I'm always hoping, I hope I get to do one on recruitment and retention. Just real quick about my background, I taught for 22 years in Cobb County School District in Georgia, just north of Atlanta. And the entire 22 years I was at one school, Tapp Middle School, and just a little bit of background too on the school there. There were 100, I'd say 750 to 800 students any given year at the school. And we typically had 450 to 500 in band, just in band. So typically we had 90% of the school involved in band, orchestra, and choir. So hence why I'm asked to talk on this topic quite a bit. We were always very proud of how we were able to do that, because we really saw that as a team effort in order to have 90% of the school involved in our programs. And it wasn't a matter of competing, it was a matter of working together to make sure students got in the right programs, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit today as well. This is a topic I could go on and on and on about. So I worked really hard to kind of scale down what I usually do for about an hour, hour and a half presentation to work for today. But what I would love to do is, as I'm going through this, I would love to hear your ideas as well. So if I'm going through something, it is not going to hurt my feelings at all for anyone to jump in and say, "Ooh, I tried this. This worked too." Piggyback on anything I talk about, because the title of this is collaborative, right? And I'm so pleased too to see music administrators here. I see a lot of familiar names and faces. I see you, Trisha. So I'm just really excited to get started. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to share my screen.
Erin, I'm going to say one
Yep.
thing before you get started.
Sure.
Guys, we have so much wisdom on this this Zoom meeting right here, and of course we have wisdom in Erin, but we've got people from all around the country, and sometimes from people from different countries, as we all know. Trisha comes from Canada, and some people come from countries around the world. So please, the only way that C is going to work is for us to talk either through the chat or just join and say whatever it is you want to contribute. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Erin.
Totally. And I also asked Rick to jump in if he sees anything in the chat. This picture real quick is my last year when I was teaching at TAP. One thing that we did, and we'll talk about this a little later too, is, and I'm sure many of you do this in your school districts, is the 8th grade night at a football game. So that's just having a good time in the stands at the high school football game. But I think right now, everybody, and this is why this is such a hot topic, we have to be creative about how we, like Rick said, do recruitment. It's not the same as it's been in the past. And we have to be open to trying out new things, talking to others about what works for them, like what we're doing tonight, being open to recruiting, getting those students that maybe we didn't get the last year or two, rallying the troops, getting everybody all hands on deck to do this. But as we know, it's not a one size fits all. What may have worked for me in Cobb County could be totally different in Norman, Oklahoma, right? So we have to also, there's a lot of reevaluate. What did we do last year or the year before that worked? What didn't work? What's worked for others, and learn from those things to figure out how we can problem solve, right? So this is a big thing. And, talking to administrators, Rick, Joe, you would probably agree with this, but I think you have to be proactive about the solutions you have to present to your administrator. Don't wait for someone to come to you and say, okay, well, this year for recruitment, have those solutions ready to go on a plan and be proactive about that. But at the same time, I think being flexible and open to new ideas. But what do you think, Rick, Joe?
Yeah,
that strategy.
One thing, and I'll let Joe speak probably more to this because he's in the trenches, and some of the rest of you are as well. But I remember the recruiting time sneaking up on us without administration really letting us know that it was going to happen that early. Like all of a sudden, we used to, maybe we did it in April and May, and then all of a sudden we heard, oh, no, you need to have the course selection sheets in by, February 15th or whatever it was. It was kind of crazy. So knowing ahead of time when that key time is going to be is really critical, because you don't want to have all these great plans and then you're a day late and $1 short. Joe, what do you think?
No, I agree 100%. And I think just that with the last 2 years, administrative turnover, huge right now in especially Title I and urban schools. They don't even know when we do recruiting. So to even assume that I had to contact the director of guidance. You're supposed to ask me for my master schedule information now. And so it was just them. I'm assuming goodwill, and a lot of our people are still trying to say, please give me some time. I know it's important, but I don't know really what goes out. Just staying connected to us here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Joe, because Tapp Middle School was a Title I school. In the 22 years I was there, I had 9 different principals. So you do the math there, that's a lot of turnover. And I felt like, I tell people this all the time, like I was in the movie Groundhog Day. of having to explain why we do what we do, why we have a particular recruitment process, why do we do this so many times during the year. So totally get that, which is a great segue into planning. So I think you have to have a strategy in place. And to me, recruitment isn't a one-time thing. It's not like, oh, this is the time of the year we do recruitment. To me, it's a year-long process. It's something you're always doing, right? So just thinking all the time, when are the events going to happen that we have for recruitment purposes? Performances maybe at the elementary school, or if you're high school, your performances at the middle school. You visiting those schools and talking to the students, having a parent meeting, your demonstration of the instruments, the instrument fittings, and all those communications that we're going to get to talking as well that you send out constantly. We were always able to do our instrument fitting night the same time as the Rising Sixth Grade parent meeting, which was key to the success that we had, because all the parents and all the students were there. So after the parent meeting was over, they all came down to the band orchestra choir room. They did all of their instrument fittings or their testing, whatever they had to do to sign up for the programs. And we would all sign up about 70% of our students in the spring before, just because we did it the same night. And any students that weren't able to come with their parents that night, we used Sign Up Genius, and they could just schedule an appointment to come in April and May and do their fittings then. But I think having a plan and a strategy in place for the entire year is key, as well as communication. To me, the communication piece is not only between the high school, middle school, elementary directors, making sure you're constantly communicating for recruitment purposes, but also the director to the parent and the student, because you are also recruiting parents, whether you're recruiting for a middle school program or you're recruiting for a high school program, right?
Erin, were you ever in all those changes with new principals, were you ever told, no, you can't leave the campus and go recruit at the elementary school?
No, every one of those principals, they were, I mean, now granted, 2 of the 3 elementary schools were pretty much a stone's throw from my campus, but they had no issues with me going to talk to those classes. I would always go and visit the music class. Also, 2 of the 3 music teachers were band parents, so that helped as well. But I think another important piece, which obviously we're talking to these people all here tonight, but is the director to your local administrator to the district-wide administrator. You know, Rick knows, Joe knows probably out in Cobb County, Gary Markham was my music supervisor. So we had an enormous amount of support, making sure that the communication from the district level to the local principals was in place so that they understood how critical recruitment was to, you know, the health of all of our programs in Cobb County. And that county has a, you know, history of very strong programs, but I really do attribute that to all of the leadership we had for so many years with Gary Markham. So Rick, Joe, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
I love that. And I put in the chat too, I love your comment about recruit parents. That is brilliant. I mean, that is so important to say, recruit, you really are recruit parents. I think with us too, is I try to alleviate all the transportation issues of getting from the middle school to the elementary. So where I think we hit some roadblocks in the
Did we lose him?
Lost Joe, he froze.
Yeah, and you know, I also with the going to the elementary school part, I would go and talk to them, but another thing that we had is in the spring, it typically happened in beginning of May, every elementary school had a day that they visited our middle school. So the first thing that happened is they would bring them to the theater first thing in the morning, and we got to the band orchestra choir perform for the kids as they came in. And, you know, that's the opportunity to bring out all the pop tunes, the Disney tunes, you know, all the stuff that, you know, kids are going to love. So the second they walk in, they're like, oh, I know that song, I want to sign up. So we were really fortunate to have every single elementary school come to visit us. And anytime that happened, whether it be the kids were on campus, the parents were on campus, always made sure I was proactive in making, you know, some kind of either performance happen for them, or I got an opportunity to speak with them about the sign-up process. So just, you know, making sure you take advantage of all these opportunities.
Yeah, and so for those of you that are looking at doing it a little differently, I know, as Joe said, you know, it becomes a transportation issue and everything. And so they worked it out in my district so that they did exactly that, Erin.
Yep.
But it wasn't just a band, or it wasn't just a fine arts recruiting day. It was a, here's the school that you're going to be going to, and here's what the hallways look like, and here's what the lockers look like. And then they rolled all the electives into it. So it's a really good model to use if you can pull it off. It involves a lot of working pieces.
Yeah, they would bus the students over, except the school that was super close. They were really cute. They just made a chain and walked over. But we started with fine arts and the theater. And then after that, they had student leaders within the school, 8th graders, that took them on a tour of the campus. They got to see classes. They ate lunch in the cafeteria. It was a whole day thing. So that's probably what you're talking about.
Yep.
And then, with the communications, I feel like with your recruitment, you have to do this in so many different ways, because, you send out maybe a flyer, sometimes that gets stuffed in the bottom of a backpack, or you send out an email, sometimes that gets lost in spam, blah, blah, blah. So you have to do every form of communication possible, in my opinion. And we all know the rule of 7 touches, that if, it takes 7 times for anybody really to follow up and connect with that. And then by point 3, then follow up again, keep following up. I mean, it's literally oversaturation, I think. The collaboration piece, it's what we were talking about with communication, but even more so, making sure you're communicating with your administration, your local administration, the elementary, middle school feeder like we talked about, but working together as a department. I just truly believe, and now this is a flute player talking that also plays cello. I was able to be in 2 programs when I was growing up. So we always wanted to make sure we got students in the right place, but we also found out, a way for, if a student wanted to do band and choir or band and orchestra, we had a way to do that. And if you're at all interested in finding out how in the world we did that, I still have all my paperwork. I have the parent release form they signed. So if you're interested, let me know. But it's,
Erin, just taking the stigma away from the fact that they can only do one thing in middle school. One of the most powerful things I did when we went to the elementary is said, okay, how many people in here are in athletics? How many people in here are in the band, are in choir, so they can see that, how many people are cheerleaders, and they can see that they can do a lot of these different things.
Mm-hmm. And delegating some of the responsibility in your planning and the process for recruitment to your boosters, right? If I didn't have middle school parent boosters, we weren't allowed to have that, but the high school parent boosters, oh my gosh, they would do anything and everything to help us out. So it was, a great relief anytime I needed refreshment somewhere or whatever we were doing. Our music instrument fitting, demo night, all of that is very collaborative with the high school. The directors all help with the testing on the instruments. All of the student leaders in the marching band are helpers that night. The drum majors are the greeters, and then we have at every single station, the section leaders are the mouthpiece cleaners. So it serves 2 purposes. One, it helps us out a lot to have them there. But secondly, the parents and the students see that relationship. They get to meet the high school directors, the high school student leaders, and it, gives them that whole, it's a 6th through 12th grade program. It's not a if we go on to high school, it's a when. And that starts from the get-go, the very first time they walk into our band room before they're even a 6th grader. So that really has worked for us on the retention piece as well, because they're meeting all of us and it's a collaborative effort. Administrator approval. So yeah, you were talking about, making sure that the administrators sign off on this and having permission, or when your registration's due, Rick. You were talking about that. I think it's important, especially if you have new administrators, to communicate what your plan is to them, to not have any surprises. And having an organized approach, not just what you're doing, but what the entire fine arts team is doing, band, orchestra, and choir together. Rick, anything on that part?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely critical. Communication is the thing that ruins most things, or lack thereof, I guess I should say. So, yeah.
Awesome. And then reaching out to local music stores, if you are able to have them there for your instrument fitting night. And, I know a lot of people are, they'll have them out in the hallway, so the students sign up, they got their instrument. assignment and they go out in the hallway and go ahead and deal with their renting and all that. We weren't able to do that in our district, but if you are, man, that's a lifesaver, you know, and then you are in control of choosing the music stores that are there. So I think it is important to make the process for the parent and the student as simple, stress-free, and accommodating as possible, because you're wanting to get as many students as you can. If it's just a, oh, if you don't make it to our spring, to our spring sign up, then oh well, you know, it's done. I think you make it simple. Like I said, you sign up Genius or something like that. If they're not able to make it, they can schedule an appointment, have other times that they can still do it. Besides spring, we also have summer signups, and we also do that in the fall, which I'm going to get to in a minute. Rick, anything on that piece before I keep going?
Yeah, no, I wanted to say this earlier, but you mentioned parents a lot. Parents are going to be some of your biggest recruiters by themselves, because if they love what you're doing with your program and they love what you're doing with their kids, they're going to go tell other parents, you need to come and do this, So, and I think as much as you can get parents involved, as you've talked about, is critical.
Yeah. And parents, recruiting parents. We do that a lot with the high school to the middle school. With the high school parent boosters at football games, they have the 8th grade parents help out with that in the concession stands and all that at the football games. So they're already making those relationships parent to parent. So when it comes time for their child to sign on the dotted line for high school band, they're like, oh no, you're doing this. They've already spent time invested in working those concession stands.
And building props.
Yeah, exactly. So why do students join though? And Rick said this at the very beginning. It's to be part of something, to belong to something, have an instant group of friends, and let's be real, they want to have fun. Okay? You have to know your audience there, but most importantly, you, the director. That's why. It's your personality. You're the first person they come in contact with when they're making this decision, whether it be you're standing at the doorway the first time they walk into your room, or you're doing a presentation in theater to talk and to recruit them. It all comes down to you and your excitement about them joining your program. Well, we also, yeah, go ahead.
I had 2 kids that went through middle school and high school band, and you said something in that earlier slide that I think is really critical when you say they have an instant group of friends. It makes your freshman year going into high school so much less stressful, because middle school kids are usually scared to death to go to high school. But when they know 200 kids already that are part of this group that they've been with for a couple of years, boy, it really takes the stress off.
Yeah, totally.
And parents love that.
And a hat we know we all wear is the marketing hat, right? So we're a salesman, we're a marketer, we're all the things, custodian, bus driver, I could go on and on. But you're marketing to the students, the parents, the community in which you teach, and other stakeholders. Now, when I say other stakeholders, maybe put in the chat or just unmute yourself and tell me, who else do you think I'm referring to? Who are other stakeholders in this process? What do you think, Rick?
Other stakeholders in the recruiting process.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
or even retention.
Well, certainly the teachers that are going to be involved, because if there aren't enough kids, you might be losing staff members.
You want to know something funny? In our connections team, they loved us because we got 90% of the school, because guess what that did to their class sizes? The PE coach, they're like, yes, we only have 25 kids in each PE class. Thank you.
Right.
So there's many stakeholders involved in your building, in addition to who we've been talking about. So yeah, for sure.
Oh, Corinne said the school board. That's, one thing that we forget is when we do a good job with all of this, we make not only the school look good, but we make the district look good. Mm-hmm. And we can't forget about that. And we don't necessarily do that intentionally. I mean, we're just trying to do our own thing, but it's a nice added benefit that it also makes the district look really good.
Which then turns into funding, possibly, support. Yep. So promoting your program, I think it's important when you have this opportunity to speak with the parents and students. You have to go all out. Talk about the program accolades, the trips you take, the events you do, all of the achievement data that we know, all the advocacy things. You got to talk about that. Individual student achievements and other activities. Maybe you have a valedictorian, right? Any kind of, I don't know, the debate team captain, whatever you think is important. Mention that so that parents and students know they can do more than just be in orchestra or be in band. Really push the whole, it's a family thing, we're a community. We're good for you, but most importantly, we want you to be a part of our program. You would be good for us. And, letting them know it's a healthy, supportive atmosphere, but that's also showing that, right? And parents want their child to be part of something successful. We know that, right? So that's another part of this too, is creating this culture of success and being at a program long enough that the parents and the community know that, and then it just feeds itself. I mean, that's the luxury of being somewhere for so long, that once you have this routine going and your program's successful and their other children or their neighbors had a positive experience in the program, they're going to want their kids to be in it. And then having a professional look and feel to everything that you do, your website, your social media posts, your video, your flyers, everything you do, and then having your swag out there. That markets your program. So when we do our instrument demonstration night, I think I even included, I'll show you in a minute, a picture of after they do their testing and they sign up, they get to buy their t-shirt. So when they have their tap band t-shirt on in elementary school before they ever get to middle school, and they're walking around the 5th grade hall with tap middle school band, all the other kids are like, how did you get that? Oh, I already signed up for band. And that helps right there. You got a walking billboard, right? And that's, knowing your audience too. So if you're doing a demonstration, let's say in the theater, and you're demonstrating all the instruments, play things that are fun, that the kids will get excited about signing up for that instrument. Now I go over the top with the ones that I know I want a lot of, like tuba, trombone. I have to kind of scale down the obvious ones, like saxophone. For percussion, I only demonstrate the mallet instruments. But, know your audience and be smart about what you're doing with that to get them all excited. We hang posters all over the building, everywhere. And these are always kind of fun. We just pick celebrities every year and put their name and what instrument they play. Kids love that. And then we started doing this thing where we get teachers and administrators in the school that also play instruments to get a picture of themselves and hang it up and say, did you know Miss So-and-so plays cello? They get a kick out of that too. And then don't tell anyone, but I probably broke copyright with this. But whatever you want to do to get their attention, these are really fun. And then I totally took a picture in the hallway of this a couple weeks ago at North Penn High School. I saw this is a music store that they were giving these out. Perfect. Because what that shows is you can also do sports and play an instrument. Now, I always did my own. These are actually pictures of ones that I've used in the past. The one on the bottom there with the football players and their violin, cello, all that actually is the high school I fed into, McEachern High School. That is the top stars of their football team, and the Atlanta Journal and Constitution did an entire article on that. I mean, how cool is that? So showcasing things, kids doing other things besides just playing an instrument.
That is so cool. I remember when our choirs used to, and I don't know, maybe Joe, they still do, our choirs always sang the national anthem at the beginning of each football game instead of the band playing it, because it gave the choir something to do at the football game. And I loved it because there were band kids, football players, cheerleaders. I mean, this whole different group of people in the choir singing the national anthem. It was just the coolest sight to see.
No, Rick, we can arc up, and it's exactly what you said. It could be a football choir member, all the double threats. They're all arced up doing the national anthem. Yeah, we kept it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
this is the part where I just have a lot of ideas. I'm going to go through these fast. If after this you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get to see all those things that are on the slide because I hate slides with lots of words, but this is about to be that. Just email me. I'll pop my email in the chat, and I'm happy to send you all these things that have worked for us, little tips. But one of the biggest things is recruit students with students who they're your best ambassadors. And I'll be honest, peer pressure works. It just does. Like what I talked about with the students walking around with their band t-shirt on, that's your walking billboard right there. But we would also do this thing where, you know, if the kids we sign up in the spring, we say, bring 2 with you back in the summer to sign up, bring 2 more friends. And then we call that recruiting their squads. But again, that's oversaturation too, just making sure you're getting everything you can to promote your program out there. Your recruitment video, postcards, we've done that before. I bet some of you, you know, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to say anything, but we sent postcards, you know, to any students over the summer that had not signed up yet. Picking up the phone, you know, calling parents and students and say, hey, we noticed you haven't signed up yet. We'd love to have you. We talked to your elementary music teacher. She gave you a glowing recommendation, whatever you want, you know, but it's all about making those connections and making it as personal as possible. So these are the pictures of the band room. I know it's not the best quality, but you get the idea of our instrument testing night. There at the table, I may have a better one that closes, yep, right there. So when they sign up that night, they can purchase their band t-shirt, walk out the door, and boom, they're so excited they're a member of the band already as a 5th grader. So this is just a little, I'll give you a snapshot of our recruitment video that we did a few years back. It's nothing special. And the reason I wanted to show you this is for that reason right there, is it's just an iMovie. And actually most of my 8th grade student leaders made the video themselves. They brought in photos they had, they put the video together for me, and we played this in the theater when we did that parent night where the students were there, and it just runs over and over again until the meeting starts, and then we get an opportunity to play. So you get the idea, right? And it comes back again, Rick, to what you said at the beginning, fun, right? Showing the things that you know kids, knowing your audience, will bite at. Oh, we get to go on trips. I didn't know they did a Halloween concert. They have a jazz band. I mean, it goes on to showcase all that. Towards the end, it shows the sixth graders that, you know, those kids would know that they're only a year apart from, that say, and they started in the sixth grade just like you know. So they know, even though at first they're looking at eighth graders and high school kids, here's some snapshots of kids that are only a year older than you. So I think that says a lot in just a video. And again, it's nothing special. It's super easy. It's not super high produced, but it gets the point across. Go ahead, Rick.
Where did you use that video, Erin? Who did you show? I mean,
yeah, several places actually. So in the parent meeting, like I said, the parents and students were coming in, and we all had promo like videos for orchestra, band, and choir, and we would just play them on a loop as people are coming in, right? And then in the fall, we get the opportunity on the second day of school to do another demonstration for the entire sixth grade student body. So all, however, couple hundred kids are in the theater. And as they're coming in with their classrooms, with their homerooms, we're playing it again. So it served a couple purposes, but you know, it's pretty cool that the entire sixth grade class sees that And then as soon as the video's over, we get to talk about our programs and demonstrate all the instruments. This is a picture of drum major at the high school. All the drum majors, student leaders wrote personal letters to our 8th graders to invite them to be a part of the marching band. That means a ton to an 8th grade student. That's, on the fence, especially going, I don't know. And, the biggest thing for us was we had our 8th grade night in October. And if those kids were asked in 8th grade to sign on the dotted line for marching band in October, 100% boom would do it, because they have such a blast at 8th grade night. The problem is between October and May, when they really have to make that decision, a lot of people get to them. A lot of people get in their heads. Counselors tell them, oh, you can't take AP this and also be in band. And they get convinced otherwise, Even sometimes their parents, but sometimes it's because the parents are getting the wrong information. So I think you have to be proactive on that front too. But again, overly communicating to everybody that's involved, having solutions for scheduling issues. Sometimes people don't sign up because they think, oh, well, I can't take French and be in band. And that may not be the case, right? I always served on the scheduling committee to be in control of that, to make sure counselors or whoever weren't making decisions for us, being proactive in that process. Building a culture of what to expect with the recruitment process in your building is key, and then always advocating for your program. There's several roadblocks that I've seen over the years, and probably even more so now, especially the last 2 years. Some of these are in here though. Students are apprehensive or scared. Oh, I can't be in band because I've never played an instrument before, You have to address those concerns. You have to preempt anything that you think is holding them back for signing up. And then answering questions, offering solutions, knowing your community. And for me, because I taught in a Title I school, this was a big thing, addressing financial concerns. Because sometimes the roadblock might be we can't afford to be in band or orchestra. We can't purchase or rent an instrument. And they're not aware of all the schooling instruments you may have or other resources in order to make that happen for them. Anything, Rick or Joe?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I want to kind of go back to your movie just real quick and say, what I used to do, and I wasn't sophisticated enough to do a movie, but I would just do a PowerPoint with some advocacy things and things that parents need to know as they're making these decisions. And we would have them playing at the beginning before the concert started, because the kids had to be there at least 30 minutes before the concert started or whatever. Parents were just sitting in the auditorium waiting for the concert to start. And so we would have this loop going on of all these things that they needed to know. And I always used to say you have to be as smart as or smarter than the people that are making those decisions for your kids and for the parents, because they will get told things that aren't, it's not that they're not true, but they may not necessarily be in the best interest of the kid overall, in my opinion.
Totally true. Yeah. The re-recruitment process, I think, is so important right now. I think that is key to try and get those kids back that maybe we lost because they quit during the last 2 years or never signed up in the first place. And, I was talking about how we do our spring signups, but we also do summer, we also do fall. The way we do it in the summer is they have a 2-week camp at our school for all of the rising 6th graders to come and spend time at our school, take classes from the teachers they're going to have. It's really pretty neat. So I make sure I go up there during that time and just, work with the teachers that are teaching the summer classes, say, hey, can I pull a couple at a time and just see if they want to test some instruments. In the fall, we call that time getting our leftovers. So we do that demonstration in the theater, and then any of the students that haven't already signed up in the spring and the summer, they all come to our room in the next week and a half to test instruments. So we basically have a touch point with every single 6th grader. One way or another. Every single 6th grader comes through our rooms. So that's a lot of the reason that we're able to get 90%. And again, that's the whole, having to explain that to administrators, why we do what we do and why do we do this process so many times. It's so we can give every student the opportunity to be part of music.
Yeah. And, I want to add something about older students, and this really didn't have anything to do with COVID, but it applies in the same situation. So when we opened up a new high school years and years ago, and the numbers were super low. And so the band director literally recruited every kid at high school that he possibly could recruit. And he literally did like a ninth grade beginning band.
Yep.
In ninth grade. And what they discovered is, and if I'm not mistaken, there were a couple kids that started in ninth grade, and by their senior year, they were making the all region band and you know, pressing to be an all state. So
they made all state.
I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. Okay.
All state clarinet, yeah, too.
Yep. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So sometimes, you know, especially in situations, if you lost them from COVID, now might be the time to go after those kids who might be a little bit older. You know, the maturity may make up the difference of, you know, those years where, you know, they learned when they were little. It's worked in other places.
I love that. Yeah, I have some friends back in Georgia that did the same thing, a ninth grade beginning band. And the top students in the top group, the 11th and 12th graders, basically were teaching them. And I think about the Japanese model, like I obsessively have watched those DVDs with the older kids teaching the younger kids. Right there, that's exactly what I would be doing. You know, and again, you know, on this slide, it's talking about instrument demo and fittings, but it's engaging everyone in your cluster working together, all the band directors, but bring in those professional musicians and the retired band directors that probably are looking for something to do to help you with this process as well. Or if you're going to have a beginning band, there you go. Utilize those resources. I'm going to do a couple shout outs if that's okay. Shout outs of music educators I've seen across the country the past year doing some pretty amazing things. One of my really good friends, Carissa Seymour, we went to college together, has done this Harry Potter reveal. When she has her students, she tests them, she knows what instrument they're going to play, they don't know yet. They do this whole Harry Potter theme thing, the whole band room is decorated, and then they have to come up to the stool with a sorting hat. She puts the sorting hat on them, they open the envelope, it has, you know, the ink, whatever, the red stamp thing on, and then they find out what house they're in. Each house, like there's Hufflepuff is like woodwinds.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hilarious. That is amazing.
Yeah. And I have all the information on how to do this, the how to set it up, who's in what house, the whole bit. So they open their envelope, they find out what house they're in. So they find out they're in Hufflepuff or whatever. And then she goes, and you're playing clarinet. The kids go nuts. Like I have videos of this. Ah! And so I asked her, I said, well, is anyone ever disappointed? She goes, no, it's awesome because they're all so excited about the Harry Potter thing. They could care less, you know? So it's a winner for sure. And she has kind of tweaked it over the past 2 years to make it even better. If you are interested, just email me and I'll give you the whole how-to of that. But it's genius.
I just have to say, Gryffindor. If I could go back and do that, I would say Slytherin.
Exactly. Slytherin, I think,
sold.
Were percussion. No surprise.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, another shout out is Beth Stribling in Kentucky. She did this whole thing at the high school where they announce what the kids are playing at the high school marching band rehearsal. At the end, they're like on the tower and the kids come out and they announce what they're playing and they run down in between all the high school kids. And then they pair up with a high school kid that takes them in the gym to show them how they assemble their instrument for the first time. Brilliant. And it's another example of building that bridge between the programs. And then this is a shout out for Steve Graves, who was doing his parent night. And at the last minute, they said, yeah, so you're not going to get to talk to the parents in the theater like we told you to. This is like an hour before. So he did everything he needed to do, revamped it, put it on a QR code and hung it outside the theater so they would still get all their information. These are just pictures of us building the bridge and doing middle school and high school things together. Our Halloween concert, they decorate the stage with me. And then here, engaging the community, we give out little treat bags to all the little brothers and sisters that show up, you know, in their costumes. And I know we're running out of time, so I'm gonna move fast here. All of this comes down to retaining and having a successful retention and recruitment all comes down to creating a culture of success, in my opinion. It's all about building those relationships, fostering those relationships, learning as you go, developing, listening to the parents and the students, adapting. Boy, is that the key word the last 2 years. Advocating for your program and caring. This is all, in my opinion, are characteristics of a successful program. But you know, one of the biggest things, and I have no idea, is there green like stuff written on my slide right there at the bottom? That is so weird. That's bizarre. The band room, orchestra room, choir room is a safe and positive place. That's a key one, right? It's not, nothing I put in here is about, oh, you're getting, you know, straight ones at your festival or first place in this or that or whatever. It's more about, how do the students feel? Are the parents proud? Are the students proud? Do they want to have their students in your program? Does your enrollment continue to grow? Okay, and then why do they stay? Social, sense of belonging. It's all the reasons why they joined, to become part of something, a family community, and it's fun, and you took the time to convince them to stay in the program. And it's all about building that bridge. So I know we're almost out of time. I do want to mention something that could be a fantastic resource for all of you on this topic of recruitment and retention. I had to put this up here because it's so true. This is a Tim-ism.
Erin, also, before we go, I'd love to hear if anybody else has anything that they would like to share, or any questions, or anything that they'd like to share with the group. Definitely want to give them that opportunity.
Yes.
I got a question. Erin, this was amazing. Like, I can't stop taking notes fast enough. And about with the amount of time, like, what question can I ask you? But if you had to start over again and you had to start from scratch, you had to pick just maybe one or two of the incredible things that you have done, or where would you start again if you had to do it? Like, if you didn't have for 110% of the student population in your band as you did.
Yeah, so it wasn't like that when I first started there, and I think I had to figure out how. So I think the starting point is trying to figure out how to get that touch point to all of the kids. You have to figure out in your program how to make that work. It took me years to figure that out. It wasn't, you know, it took me years to figure out, oh, so I shouldn't just do this in the fall. Oh, wait, I should also do this in the spring. Wait, I can do this in the summer. So it was a learning process. That's what I was saying about continuing to learn and figure out what works. And then when you have that new administrator where you're like, oh, they're not going to let me do that, back to the drawing board, figure it out, right? I think you have to be adapting constantly, but that's where I would start. My number one priority would be, how can I get as many kids in this program as possible and convince them they need to be a part of this?
I love that. Thank you. Thanks.
So,
you know what, I was just,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
That I was just going to offer that has been like a sledgehammer that worked with me, that really hit on as much in spring is attendance. I think with all of the stuff with the ADA going back and forth, and with the budgets, like, I always do SAT, I always do valedictorian, always do salutatorian. The one that's really hit home lately has been, we have 99% of the rest of the school now. With we're losing enrollment. We've lost a lot of enrollment to the tune of about $10 million. $10 million. So those programs that are pulling in, absolutely being looked at in a different light now, I think. So attendance. So I use that in recruitment. So I say, we have 99. And then parents, we will keep your kids there. And then, but the and the purse strings, they're really paying attention to that too.
Yeah, I love that. Rick, do you have anything?
No, I'd love to have other people. I know a couple people turn cameras on, so I'm not sure if they have something that they like to say.
This is Janet, real quick. I'm actually with Welch Music in Boise, Idaho. Great to see you all.
Oh, Janet, you emailed me the other day.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I work in a retail store, right? I'm not an educator, but my clients are K through 12 schools, and they're starting to respond. They're saying, yeah, Janet, we want petting zoos. We want you to do band nights. It's so hard, however, to get the administration on board. So I'm trying to reach out to principals, right? And it's just, it takes forever. So I'm wondering, for all you educators out there, do you partner with retail stores? Have you had any success working with the sellers of the instruments, the renters of instruments? If you've had an experience, I'd love to hear that.
That's a great question.
Yes, I can answer that. My name is William Young from Duncanville.
Okay,
We
thank you.
actually reach out to the music store. So we reach out to Music and Arts
Yeah.
and Brook Mays and have them come out to our actual selecting, instrument selecting process. So
Yep.
we reach out to them and to get them involved.
Right.
But we kind of have that relationship where, we tell our principals, hey, we're having this, all like what they were saying about communications and having those relationships is very vital, because just like the importance of having, a petting zoo or instrument selection night is important for the administrator to understand and know.
Totally. I also see Trisha commented about doing a Zoom petting zoo night. I have information from Wendy Higdon, if anyone is interested, who did a virtual instrument testing night. That I'm sure would be totally fine with me sharing with you guys. It was part of our.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I'd love to learn more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I will have a Zoom meeting soon anyway, so we
Okay.
can talk about that then. But I'm glad you brought that up, Janet. That's fantastic. We have our next music educator masterclass, which is launching in April, is all recruitment and retention, and I'm calling it Focus on the Future, Recruitment and Retention. And you can see the incredible lineup of clinicians we have, Wendy Higdon being one of them. But you'll notice all the names on there are very well-respected music educators, and we're going to be offering an early, you can register before it even launches if you're interested, for an early bird price of only $49. So if you're interested in learning more about recruitment and retention from the very best of the best, we have that resource for you as well. And then I know Beth probably put in the chat, I know she's on it, there's a link for that, so if you want to register. In addition, at the beginning, you saw our promo video for Con Summer Institute. We were so excited to be back in person this summer. We are also offering a virtual option. But if you'd like to join us, I'm giving you my coupon codes there. So my name's Erin Cole Steele. So you can use my Steele 100 to get $100 off in person, or if you want to join us virtually, Steele 20 to save 20% off. Rick, I am so glad that you asked me to be here. I wish we could talk about this for like 2 hours.
Well, and I think we have some people that might have some more questions, and I know we can't keep them any longer because it's five till the hour, top of the hour. But this may be something that we want to come back and revisit in the fall. We had great registration. We're thankful for those of you that were here. And for the last just couple minutes, is there anything else that anybody would like to say or contribute? We're willing to stay on. If the rest of you, if you need to go and drop off, that's understandable. But is there anything else that anybody would like to say?
There's some big hitters on here. Gosh, now I'm nervous now that I see who's been on here.
Beth
Marcus,
Fabrizio.
Beth Fabrizio.
My goodness, Marcus Morris. There's like coming out of the woodwork.
Hey guys, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Hey Erin, hey Rick. So, first of all, this has been so reaffirming to be able to hear and see this presented so eloquently. And I wanted to add on to something that you talked about, Erin, and talking about promoting your program. It's maybe been 3 years ago. I attended a session at Midwest presented by Rick, talking about communicating with administrators. And I remember he talked about selling your program, selling it, and talking about the benefits of the arts. And you used, I think it was Champions of Change, like the impacts of art.
Yep.
Oh my, and Rick, that stuck with me because what we've done in our program is we've talked about how the arts benefit the student. And then we go down a little further and say, and this is how instrumental music and our band program. And so that stuck with me. And so we added that little piece, and we have gotten so many parents that have said, you didn't just talk to my kid about band, you talked to my kid about being in the arts. And then you brought it to band. And so Rick, thank you for that, because that has been a very key part of our, this recruitment now that we're coming out of COVID and out of restrictions. It has been wonderful. And so I've added that piece to our recruiting.
Well, that's great to know.
Oh yeah, man. I loved it. It was, gosh, I guess it's 2019 now. Wow.
Right.
But very thankful for that.
When I ask music teachers, what do you teach your kids that have nothing to do with music? It's all those skills that they're learning that's going to make them a great person in society and a great employer. And we do so much that we sort of take it for granted. We need to shout from the rooftops what we're doing for kids and not just teaching them notes and rhythms.
But great conversation. Love the peripherals. Oh, Erin, wonderful. Kudos to you. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Marcus.
Well, I'll close with, and please feel free to jump in if you still have something. Next month, April 6th, John Gallagher is going to join us. And if I'm not mistaken, John just he's the president of the New York Music Supervisors Organization. And I don't have all the acronym correct, I think, but we had Tom Bracey do some promotion of your program. This is going to be even a little different twist on it. So it'll be really great for you to come and listen. That's April 6th, John Gallagher. It's going to be at 6 p.m. again. One of the things that you might want to be looking for, I'll probably put it in on Facebook, is this time working for everybody? Well, everybody here, it's obviously working for them, but I am, disappointed. I don't know if that's the word, but we have 80 people sign up and we have a handful show up. And so if it's not the right time, we're willing to make some adjustments after this next go around. So we'll look for that, and we'll be anxious to hear some feedback. So anything else from anybody before we let you go?
Join Paula Kreider's concert artistry. Her first webinar is tonight, right after this.
Right.
So
coming right after this. So that'll be great too. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you so much, Erin. It was a wealth of information. I think we probably need to do part B in the fall. Joe, thanks for being here, and everybody else on the webinar today. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there.